Hey there, everybody. It is Chris Therien, and yes, we are past the middle of July, and already you can tell that hockey and the hockey season will be, be beginning come about late July, early August. I got another Flyers reporter along myself, the great Bill Meltzer here, who is about as dialed in as anybody is. Bill, first off, how you doing, buddy? How's everything going?
I'm doing great. If it feels like it's been forever since we've seen each other and since we've covered any games, it's only because it has been, right?
Yeah, and again, it's been very very limited, even over at the skate zone. Lots of other teams as well. I've talked to some of my counterparts with other clubs that really no access at all to the players before they head into the bubble, and rightly so. You know, bubble will be in Toronto. It's a virtual bubble, as we say, and it's to try to keep the players close and around the people that they know have not tested positive for COVID-19, and that will certainly be. A really, really big piece of what goes on and what transpires in August and September. I was looking at the rate today in Ontario where the Flyers will be, and they have very, very minimal cases, even in the province alone of Ontario. So I think if they take care of themselves, Bill, I think it looks like it could be a pretty safe experience and one that will be something that no one's seen before. But at the same time, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. What are your thoughts of it?
My thoughts are, I'll exhale once they get everybody to the bubble and everybody tests negative there, and then I'll say, okay, we're really on here. I mean, I think the odds are very, very good at this point. Teams seem to be conscientious. If there's any doubt whatsoever, like Jake Voracek the other day had an inconclusive test, and even though he felt fine, he had to miss a day. If there's any doubt whatsoever, they pulled the guy out. So, I feel much better, much more optimistic than I thought. The beginning was like, okay, well, let's see where we're at as we get into camps and where players get together and that kind of thing. I'm at the point where I think this is happening, and get there and get into the games. It's going to be a whole different experience. You can practice as much as you want to practice. I mean, you can testify to this. You can practice how much you want to. You can have an exhibition game. It's going to be a whole different thing once the games start to count. And, it's going to take teams, that nobody's going to just hit the ground running in terms of their A game. It's just a question as to who brings enough of their game to, where they get a quick jump, because you can't get off to a slow start, obviously.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things before we kind of jump into some player notes and some stuff that's gone on, and this is just our 10-day Philadelphia Flyers kind of training camp report with me and Bill. And one of the things that certainly is interesting, it looks like Alain Vigneault and his staff have a good understanding of the players' mind and body clocks through this camp. Of what I've seen, they've had incorporated a couple scrimmages already inside like the 8 days, which is going to be very, very important. But again, this is uncharted territory for almost every single guy. Most players would not start skating for about another month from now to get ready for regular camp. So your body and mind is in a different atmosphere altogether, with being in 100 degrees here in South Jersey, heat index at 105. You're going to the rink in July, which just doesn't sound normal from that sense. So I think the guys have done a pretty good job of acclimating themselves, and the coaches, I felt, were, for the first 2 weeks, will be the most important part of this whole thing, will be the coaching staff, and it looks like they've responded extremely well.
Yeah, I think they mapped this out really in a smart way. They obviously they talk with guys like Jim McCross, and they talk with the dietitian. They really mapped out as to how they ramp guys up so that you get the team ready, but you also don't you don't put them at risk of injury any more so than they ordinarily would be. And you can see that the pace and the demands are increasing every day as it needs to. Like yesterday was the second scrimmage. Tomorrow is going to be the final scrimmage. The pace between Saturday's scrimmage and Tuesdays, it was day and night. I mean, it was so much faster paced in the second one. And I think tomorrow's scrimmage, although in the third period, apparently they're going to switch from 5-on-5 to get in special teams work, because today was the first day they did any power play work. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's something that they're going to have to do. Then Friday is just going to be another off-ice day, a practice on Saturday, and they're going to announce what the the final group of 31 they're going to take to Toronto. That group of 31 does include goalies.
Yep.
So so that's why like in camp you could have an unlimited number of goalies, but it's 31 players max to take to Toronto. And so on Saturday, the guys who are going to stay behind here, because the guys who aren't going to Toronto are going to stay behind in Voorhees, and they can skate and work out there. And then, if they're needed, they could go to Toronto potentially if the numbers are depleted and it's an emergency and they need some more people. But, so there's some decisions to make as to, who's going to end up on the outside looking in. I think there's at least one or two things to figure out about what the lineup might look like still. And the rest is just getting guys work in, as you get into the preseason game and you get into the round robin, because you can't have guys who haven't played a real game since March asking them to step into the Stanley Cup playoffs. So as they play those 3 games, you're going to see more than just the 18 skaters used. I think you're going to see as many as they can work into those games. But just, you want to win those games and get as high a seeding as you can. But ultimately, those games are just preparation for the playoffs, and you got to beat whoever's in front of you anyway.
Yeah, we've talked about that too. It'll be interesting to see the tempo of those games. I've had different coaches tell me they're not sure how they're going to approach it yet, because you don't want to injure anybody with putting so much pressure on the round robin games that you're going to lose a key cog. So that to me would be a little bit of it is the injury part, but at the same time, it's important. Those are essentially the games they're playing are much like preseason games in a sense that's what the mind and body clock is telling you, that it's that first game after you've had a 4 or 5 month layoff is indeed a preseason game. Well, now it's a Stanley Cup playoff. So that's where I say uncharted waters, and it's going to be certainly interesting. So that's where they're at, Bill. They will head out Sunday. News of the day, really, and some of the biggest news and encouraging news today out of the Flyers camp. Oskar Lindblom. I mean, first of all, this has been a story that's just been captivated the NHL and the hockey world for much of the season. Oskar, of course, out with Ewing sarcoma. It's a form of cancer. He's gone through his treatment here in Philadelphia. There was rumblings about a month ago when he showed up at the skate zone and was just out on the ice by himself, kind of getting a little bit of a workout in. Bill, for where they are right now, he signs a new deal today, 3 years, a $9 million deal. So that tells me a couple things. Immediately, the Flyers are feeling pretty good about his future as a hockey player to be giving him a 3-year deal. And also, the most important thing for me is he's healthy right now, and he's come out the other end of that tunnel for where that the treatment's been. So, and there's a possibility he'll be joining the team, and he will be joining the team in the bubble in Toronto. How important and how unbelievable a story has this really transformed into?
Yeah, I mean, I think Matt Niskanen said it best today, where he said that, when you go into the playoffs, you don't really need extra motivators, but this is a genuine one where, just the story is so amazing. And Oskar is such a good guy anyway. It's impossible to root against him. I don't care who he played for, but for him, him to be on this team and in that group of guys, I mean, they have all rallied around him. Chuck Fletcher said today, and I think it just speaks to Oskar's character, that when Oskar found out about the diagnosis, he was more afraid as to how it might affect his teammates. As to, he wasn't afraid of the fight he had ahead of him. He was going to fight it for all he could, but he didn't want to affect the guys. So that that says a lot about Oskar's own character. I think we were all caught a little off guard by the news that they extended him now. I mean, I think we figured he was going to sign. It's a big investment in him to sign him for 3 years at a significant raise, or they're going to have to, figure out some cap stuff, because obviously the cap's going to be flat next year. They got to, figure out some numbers there in terms of the team number. But I mean, it's a huge, it's showing a lot of faith in him. I think there's reason to be confident he's going to reward that faith. There's no reason to believe that, it might take him a little bit of time to get back to where he was at before, but there's no reason to believe that he can't get back to that level and further improve from there. Oskar just did that big interview with Sports Illustrated, and Jimmy McConnell spoke to Sports Illustrated too, and they kind of talked about everything Oskar went through with the chemo, with the surgery. The cancer, according to the article, was found in Oskar's rib cage. And so the surgery he had was they had to remove the tumor from his rib cage, but they also had to remove surrounding ribs. And they put in Kevlar and mesh to strengthen the area and to build them up. Now it wouldn't have been all that long ago that that a surgery like that would have been career ending, but it's there's already precedent for a guy coming back. Chris Kreider, no, he didn't have bone cancer. He had a different condition with blood clotting, but he had to have the rib resection surgery too, and he didn't come back till the next season.
Yeah.
But I mean, Kreider just stepped right back into being a very good hockey player for the Rangers, and there's no reason to believe that Oskar can't do the same thing. So it's all great news. And the thing that shocked me the most is it's great that they're going to take him to the bubble and he's going to be able to skate and he's going to be able to be in practices. Chuck Fletcher would not even rule out the possibility, it might be a small possibility, but the possibility that Oskar might even get in a game at some point in this postseason. That would be, the story of all time as far as I'm concerned. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, not that anybody ever wants to lock up that award, but that would put the Masterton Trophy immediately on his shoulders. It would be probably, I think, in terms of, there's been some amazing stories with the Masterton Trophy, but I think Oskar Lindblom would prove the, dedication and perseverance in the game of hockey, unlike most people have ever had to experience it. So we wish him the best. We congratulate him on that new contract, and I'm really excited for him because I think by this signing, him going to Toronto tells me that he's in good health, and that's the most important thing. So we wish him nothing but the best. Now, we're going to get a little nitpicky here, Bill. We're going to move on to the next subject. Another player, and we will rejoin again before those games start in Toronto. You and I will get together again and kind of break down the Flyers lineup. We won't do that today, but NHL.com must have had one of their a writer on that maybe never covered hockey before. They had Sean Couturier as the 18th ranked center in the National Hockey League.
Oh man, yeah.
That is that's complete malfeasance right there. 18. I mean, you could almost accidentally put him in the top 6, if not the top 3. But 18. Listen. I don't want to kill the NHL.com writer who had it. I don't have his name, but that would be like putting Gretzky as like the 5th best center in his era. It just doesn't make sense.
If you look at the list, and we could drum down on the list, but if you look at the centers that are ranked above him, listen, there's a lot of quality centers around the NHL. But if you look at that list and you ask yourself these questions, is the guy as complete as Couturier is? Because except for Patrice Bergeron, there's not as many players as complete as Couturier is. There are guys who are better.
O'Reilly's there, and Bergeron, the 3 nominees.
Yeah. Those are your Selke finalists.
Yeah.
And O'Reilly, of course, won the Selke last year. He won the Conn Smythe.
Yeah.
He's I believe he's about 7 spots higher than Couturier. I guess coming off the Selke and the Conn Smythe, maybe you put him higher. I wouldn't put him 7 spots higher though. I think that's a very good very good comparative player. They're both very good hockey players. So. I think there are guys on the list who are not nearly as proven as he is. Pettersson, for example, obviously a fine player for Vancouver, but he hasn't done it for as many years in a row as Couturier has. Couturier's in the prime of his career. He's still in his 20s. He's been durable. He hasn't missed a game in a couple of seasons. I think that he's a guy who plays in every situation. He is the best face-off guy in the National Hockey League. I mean, if there's 17 centers better than him, that's news to me, and I bet you be news to most guys in the league who play against them too. So I just looked at them and just shook my head.
It makes me want to come back today as a center.
Yeah.
Oh man, I got a chance. So, that's this serious. Anyway, listen, that was a little bit interesting, but even the Flyers. Someone asked Ian LaPerriere the other day. They said, "What is the best way to describe Couturier?" He said he's almost the perfect hockey player. And really, when you break down, I can look back at my long career, or even the guys I've seen since I retired, have been involved in broadcasting. There's not many guys that I can refer to as a perfect hockey player. And I think Coots may be the only one that I've seen on my watch. after my playing days. So that speaks a lot about a guy. I mean, this guy does do an awful lot for his team, and I don't think we need to tell Flyers fans what he means. But we just couldn't leave that off. 18th in the NHL. Uh, that's that's ridiculous, and somebody got that one very, very wrong.
I'll only add to that, just on a personal note. Sean's wife is in labor today, about to deliver a baby girl. So congratulations to the Couturier family. It's it's a special time. It's going to be, I know, hard for him to head to the bubble, but you have to do what you have to do. But at least he got to be there for the birth.
Yep.
And hopefully the Flyers make a deep run, and maybe his wife can join him in Edmonton. But it's just a great thing, and big congratulations to him for sure.
And I'm going to finish with this, Bill. Today we left off with Coots here. Just kind of got through camp here. We are doing a camp, just a Flyers training camp, and NHL sort of 10-day mark of where teams are at. We're just giving you a little bit of a brief recap. My take on it, Bill, just from my standing and where they're at. I don't think anybody knew if they were going to start. I think some teams. I saw Joe Girardi at a basketball practice about a month ago, and we spent about an hour together. He wasn't even sure that the baseball was going to start. I mean, he was that adamant. He's like, I just don't know how we're going to play. So they're here, and I think what you mentioned with Coots, it reverberates with me, is that, it's odd, right? It's strange. There's 24 teams that are going to be there. You're going to be walking in and out of the building, back and forth to underneath the ground from the Royal York Hotel to the Air Canada Centre, and vice versa in Edmonton. But for me, this is a unique opportunity. And I know Coots, like you just mentioned, a guy like Coots, guys have personal things that they'll be dealing with. Guy has a baby, stuff going on. But to me, this is a really, really unique opportunity to try to get that Stanley Cup, because I can tell you, in my career, the worst part was when you left, you didn't win, and not having that chance again. So I think that those guys can learn from that and take advantage of that great opportunity that's presented. And that's where I'll finish from my standpoint today. But I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. And I wish the guys luck as they head to the bubble, and everybody involved, including every player in the league. Good luck to them. And but especially the Flyers, unique chance to try to win a Stanley Cup. And hopefully that great chemistry they have will reverberate back when they get to Toronto. You're up, Bill. Anything, pal? You getting
me? Yeah, it froze on me for a little second there.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, again, there's just, you have to do what you have to do. I think that players have the option of opting out, but you only get so many kicks at the can, and the Flyers are in a good spot here. Again, I think Matt Niskanen said it best earlier today. He said that he's been on teams where they go in saying, well, we hope we can win around, and he's been on teams where they say, the expectation is you at the very least get to the Cup finals, and if not winning the Cup, but, getting there. And he said the Flyers are somewhere in between those two, where they feel like they can win. They feel confident, in a matchup that there's not a team that they couldn't beat. They play the right way. But they're also not the big favorite going in. They don't have all that outside pressure going in. So, it's not a bad place to be in. You and I have talked about this before. We both like the mix that's on the team. If they can get back to playing how they played during that 26-game stretch, then there is they could make a deep run. The question has been, getting off to that quick start, and you can't it can't take too long to happen. I just. Whether it's the goaltending piece, obviously being most important. You don't want to get into too many track meet kind of games either. I don't think the Flyers are, designed to win that way. They're going to have to get back to playing that kind of 200-foot game that they were really playing for those 2.5 months there. So, that to me are the question marks. But I think it's a group that they don't have the big one superstar, the Ovechkin, the Connor McDavid or whoever. But they have very good depth. You look up and down the lineup, and they have 4 pretty good lines that they can roll out there. Good D pairs. They're relying on some of the young guys who'll be playing their first playoffs to step up. I mean, your second pairing is Sanheim and Myers, and they're going to see tough minutes. I mean, every shift. It's not just you can't take a shift off, because that could be the shift that cost you a game in the series.
Yeah,
So
and the good thing is with it too, Bill, is that sometimes when you're that young, you won't have time to think about it. You won't have time to really reflect on it. It's obscure enough as it is. Um, but listen, everybody's been dealt the same cards. I believe that the last entry in this tournament will have, as of going into to Toronto and Edmonton at the end of July, will have the same chance as the best team that appears on paper, because you just don't know.
yeah, I think in any playoff year, you toss out the regular season series anyway. You know, so much of the regular season series is when you catch a team anyway. Like, look at the Flyers in Columbus this year. They caught Columbus at just the right time. Columbus had all the injuries at that point, and things were kind of going south for them. And the Flyers were as hot as they've been in, for an extended period of time in years. I mean, it was for over a quarter of a season. But at the same time, they caught Tampa Bay at all the wrong time this year. Tampa Bay got scorching hot in the second half, and in the first half they were just kind of really underachieving. They were kind of hovering around 500. So if you would have caught them in the first half of the season, maybe you would have beat them a game or two.
Right.
It's so I think you take all that and you add the time that you've been away, and I think you just throw all that out the window. And I mean, you can analyze the matchups and the coaching and all the on paper stuff. I think this year, though, the season series is not a great thing to look at, particularly in the first round. I just look at what teams may or may not be vulnerable going.
I agree. And we will, as promised, we will break down those opening rounds next week, early in the week, and we will give you guys a look at the round robin and both sides involving the Flyers and then teams like St. Louis out in the Western Conference. We'll give you guys a little playoff preview next week. That'll wrap it up for today. That is our 10-day training camp report here. We're just trying to I call it Camp 2.0, Bill, because I'm still on the 2019-2020 season, and that is what it is. So I'm going to stick with that trend and just say that we had a long All-Star break. Now we're back.
Yeah, long by weeks, 5 months, right?
Yeah, 4 months. I think it was almost to the day that they sent us. So sent us home packing, and but now we're back, and we'll be doing a lot of this remotely, virtually, until we can get some resolution to this global pandemic. So I'm Chris Therien. He's Bill Meltzer, and we will see you guys next week. Bill, great seeing you. Good, and we'll catch up soon.
Great seeing you. Thank you, everybody.
Take care, everybody.